Uranium is a great power source. 20% of US electricity is generated through nuclear power. While uranium has a lot of advantages over other fuel sources such as coal, it comes with its own downsides. Let's look into the pros and cons of uranium.
The average coal plant generates 2,200 pounds of carbon dioxide per megawatt hour, while a nuclear plant emits literally zero. A 1,000 MWE coal plant takes 9,000 tons of coal per day. It would take 90 train cars carrying 100 tons each. Just transporting the coal will produce air pollution. After all of that coal has been transported, it still needs to be purified. Huge quantities of water are needed to purify the coal, which creates water pollution. Removing the water from nearby wildlife can affect all aquatic life and animals living around the area. In comparison, only a small amount of uranium is needed to create large amounts of power with minimal pollution created during the process.
Paradoxically, nuclear power actually releases less radiation than other sources of fuel. Coal used for energy contains a substantial amount of radioactive materials like thorium and uranium, which are then burned and released into the atmosphere. In fact, so much uranium is found in this atmospheric ash that countries like China are looking into extracting uranium from fly ash as opposed to mining it. So, why hasn't every country switched to exclusively nuclear power? Simply put, a lack of space and fear of catastrophe prevents many from supporting nuclear power. Take, for example, the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster. On March 11, 2011, a particularly strong earthquake struck Tohoku, Japan with a magnitude of 9.1, creating a tsunami 133 feet tall. This destroyed a local nuclear power plant, which radiated the surrounding area, rendering it impassable. On this tragic day, more than 18,500 people died or disappeared, while more than 160,000 people were forced to move out of their homes. Other situations like Chernobyl in Ukraine and the 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania gained huge publicity, some even having their own dedicated TV show.
Additionally, humanity only has so much space on Earth. As time goes on, toxic waste is generated. Toxic waste, called tailings, can be toxic in multiple ways. The waste can emit toxic gas named radon, be blown or dispersed by the wind, and can leak into nearby water supplies. Thus, this waste must be stabilized and contained in a specialized area. How can we extract the precious energy that comes from uranium while bypassing the harmful side effects? While many different options exist, it is important to consider the achievability, effectiveness, and the budget allotted to the mission. The cheapest and most achievable solution would be moving uranium mines away from civilization. This, however, does come with its own challenges. To enforce such a task, government consent in the form of bills and laws would most likely be needed. It would also be difficult to convince the uranium mine workers themselves, as this would increase labor and put huge demands on the workers' shoulders.
An alternative solution would be the excruciating process of moving uranium sources into space. This would be much more challenging compared to the previous idea because the funding needed would be absurd. It would be hard to convince NASA or private companies like SpaceX to fund an idea in its beta stages. Human space travel already costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, so moving one of our most influential sources of energy would require an unthinkable amount of money. Not only do we have to account for funding, but we also have to factor in the time and planning necessary. Without proper planning, many problems may arise. With our current technology, it is near impossible to bring this idea to life, so the priority would be enhancing our space travel technology with a time span of a couple decades in mind.
Nuclear waste from uranium can easily spread to the surrounding area if left unattended. This happens in the form of particles blown by wind, leaching into water supply and emitting a toxic gas named radon. Considering the limitations that exist with relocated uranium mines, the next best solution would be to stabilize the waste. This could be done in many ways such as cementation, vitrification, incineration, and compaction. I believe that cementation is the most manageable and achievable solution to nuclear waste. Cementation is a fairly straightforward process, and considering that cement is an abundant compound around the world, it is a strong candidate. Cementation consists of placing nuclear waste into a stable container. Cement is also poured into this container and left to sit. Alternatively, other products such as grout can be used instead of cement. In the end, the nuclear waste is solidified into a solid block and can be stored or disposed of.
To conclude, uranium is a powerful resource that has the potential to power the entire world. However, it can be unstable at times. Just like the old saying, with great power comes great responsibility, uranium requires a lot of careful actions to maintain a healthy atmosphere. Until space travel is viable, toxic waste remains a huge problem.